Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to our town hall, our Mazel Day School community conversation, Back to School 2020. So as I'm going to be speaking, you may hear some background noise. It's pouring rain outside. So I hope that you're still able to hear me. You can give me a thumbs up if you can hear me well. Okay, great. What an exciting moment to welcome all of you to this very special town hall. I have to be honest, 3 months ago, we were not sure if we would be able to get to this point or how we would get to this point, and here we are today. An amazing moment that has been long awaited. Tonight, you will hear more information about our reopening plans and our safety protocols. You'll hear some more information about what to expect as the children come back to school and what you can look forward to. And there's a lot. Everything that I'll be sharing tonight that requires any follow-up will be sent in a follow-up email if it has not already been shared with you. So you don't need to feel like you have to take it all in at once, that you need to be jotting down notes. It's a lot of information to just listen. This will help you better understand any information that you've already seen or additional information that will be coming to you. But our objective tonight is for you to hear this information firsthand from us, from myself, from the division leaders of each division. So we have with us tonight Ina Izman, our preschool director. We have with us tonight Sonya Finkel-Levy, our lower school principal, and Mrs. Avigayil Raskin, our middle school principal. We also have on with us tonight our executive director, Rabbi Okonov, our board of trustees, and many of our faculty and our staff. If during the session you will have any questions, now thank you to those who submitted questions beforehand. We'll do our best to address as many of them as possible. Any questions that don't get answered, we will follow up with you individually. We'll make sure we are committed to making sure that every parent's questions are answered. And if additional questions come up for you as you're listening, please feel free to drop them in the chat. And I ask that you specifically message them to Mrs. Avigayil Raskin, who is going to be we'll be fielding those questions at the end. So I want to begin by emphasizing, and I can't say this enough, we are in this together. We are about to begin an incredible journey together of an amazing school year. And we, as an educational leadership team of Mazel Day School, are filled with optimism and excitement. We all know how grateful everyone is that we are able to, thank God, offer 5 days a week of in-person learning. I know how relieved you are. I can see the excitement. I can feel it. I want you to know that extraordinary efforts are being made in order for us to be able to do so. It's not something to be taken lightly. Tens of thousands, it's inquantifiable, amount of hours over the spring and summer have been spent making plans and contingency plans and then additional plans and then changing the plans. I'm talking about 4 months of nonstop work, sleepless nights to get us to this point. Money. It will cost the school an estimated $500,500 to do what needs to be done to be able to reopen school in person safely for 5 days a week. None of us should take this for granted. Our team has been working almost around the clock. And I want to take a minute to give some personal shout outs because I cannot tell you how grateful I am to have this team at my side and how lucky our school is for our exceptional reopening task force. Firstly, our Executive Director, Rabbi Okonov. Our educational leaders, yes, you can give us a chair. Everyone, there are no words to express the level of gratitude that I feel for each and every one of the members of this team. You know, I couldn't have asked for a better team. We as a school could not have asked for a better team. For our educational leaders, Morina, Sonya, Mrs. Raskin, our curriculum coordinators, Batya, Engel, Bracha, Yanni, our Director of Student Services, our Operations Director, Rabbi Naftoli. We've been spending 4 months, countless hours, researching how can we reopen, what would need to be done, what would it take, what would it cost, what are the options. We've also been blessed to have a dedicated medical advisory committee of physicians who are also Mazel parents, led by Dr. Boris Khodorkovsky, who is also a member of our Board of Trustees, who is with us tonight and will be answering some of the medical questions that have been coming up. And together, this team, along with our Board of Trustees, led by our board chair, Anna Asherov, amazing partners, through this process, this group together of educational leaders, operational leaders, medical leaders, and our Board of Trustees has served as an unbelievably dedicated group of people to lead the MDS Reopening Task Force. Tonight, we are proud to present the results of our hard work over the last few months. School this year will be different. Back to School 2020 is not Back to School 2019. This is not a typical school year. We will be doing something that we have never done before and very few schools have done before. We are experiencing globally something that is unique and different. At Mazel, our classrooms will look different. Our teachers will look different. I will look different when you'll see me in school. But we will still be Mazel. Even though there will be all of these differences, what makes Mazel Mazel will still remain the same. I'll be honest, this is not the year for the perfect. We are not aiming for perfection, but, and this is the exciting part, this is what inspires us. It is the year for the extraordinary. It is the year for us to do something amazing for our children, for our families, and for our community. As we approach this year, I ask you to remember that we are doing our best. Our teachers and our administration are doing our best. You as parents will be doing your best. The children will be doing their best. This is a time for us to be understanding, to be patient with the school, with each other, and with your children. There are many things that are not in our control. There are many things that we do not know. You will probably hear this line from myself and from others on our team many times throughout the year. I don't know. And yet, we are committed to ensure that Mazel will thrive throughout it all. The smiles, the warmth, it will transcend whatever challenges we may face. And we are excited to bring our school mission to life in every circumstance that we may find ourselves in. We are excited to get back to the work of teaching and learning. We are excited to be part of a school community in person, and we are very excited for the new school year. So while we don't know exactly where the 2020 to 2021 school year journey will take us, we do know who it's with, and I wouldn't want to be on this journey with anyone else. So I want to thank my incredible team. I want to thank each and every single one of you. We are blessed to have you as parents, as partners, and we cannot say this often enough, how lucky and proud of the school community we are, of how much we've accomplished this far and what lies ahead. So thank you. That being said, here is our agenda for this evening. Okay, we're going to review the guiding principles of our reopening plan. We will review the major features of the plan and the key ways that we hope to minimize risk. It's very important that we understand that we cannot eliminate risk. That's in God's hands. But what is in our hands, what is in our control, is we can do our best to minimize risk. And we will share with you the ways in which we will be minimizing the risk at our school. I also want to say that our approach has been to begin more conservative, to follow the policies that will place us in the best position possible to be able to maintain being open 5 days a week for the year, and to evaluate as the circumstance evolves where we can perhaps reduce guidelines and based on the guidance that we'll receive. But we will be beginning, the first step is to begin conservative. We will also have an opportunity to have some questions answered with the doc. The doc isn't going to be in the house. We'll talk about commitment to communal and safe practices. We will also we'll hear from each of the division leaders about what will not change in the school. You'll hear some academic updates. I'm preparing for back to school, and all 3 division leaders will be addressing all of their divisions because we really worked on this as a school. And lastly, we'll talk about communications and how you can make sure you're getting the right information. Okay. These are the guiding principles for our reopening plan. The first one is safety and health is a priority. We also believe that providing face-to-face learning for all students should be prioritized instead of remote learning whenever it is safe to do so. Now, in order to do that, we must ensure that we are promoting practices and policies that will reduce, as I said, not necessarily eliminate, but reduce the risk of virus transmission. Our guiding principle has also been to take an approach of agility, fluidity, flexibility, and being prepared for a variety of scenarios with the ability to move between different models as needed. To create the best possible and most normalized educational environment for our children. This has been something we've been thinking a lot about, the children, how to create a fun, positive, happy school experience within all the safety protocols and guidelines. And of course, to focus on maintaining the sense of connection, community, and spirit of our amazing, incredible students. These are the key fundamental features of our reopening safety protocols. Firstly, there's one important thing I want to say with regard to the protocols before getting into the features, is that it's important to note that whatever you'll hear tonight is the current information as of tonight. I hope we've all learned over the last few months that information changes, sometimes daily. So as further information or guidance will come out, we will let you know. This is the information and the protocols as of tonight as we approach back to school. So firstly, the reopening safety protocols were put together as a collaborative team effort, as I mentioned before, by the collective work of the MDS reopening task force. We've spent countless of hours reviewing all the guidance that is out there from the CDC, from the American Association of Pediatrics, from the New York State Department of Health, what is mandated, what is required, what's recommended. We've also been privileged to have access to expert consultation. We've spoken to virologists. We have an internal team, as I've mentioned, of medical advisory team of physicians who are parents, just like you, with the medical background to guide us as we make policies. We've also been privileged to be part of, an amazing network of Jewish day schools, nationally and locally. The amount, the wealth of wisdom, knowledge, advice, practical resources is unprecedented. I truly believe that one of the key reasons why we as a school will be able to approach this process successfully is because of the feeling of Ahavat Yisrael, of community connection among the network of Jewish day schools across the New York area and across the US. We've been the beneficiaries of this incredible wealth of expertise. Another very important feature of our reopening safety protocol has been the it has been and it will be low New York City transmission rates. So truthfully, the best news is that right now, New York positivity rates are extremely low. And therefore, we have the space, personnel, and resources and planning to be able to open in person. And we are committed to do so for as long as we can, and God willing, for the entire school year. However, we will also be reassessing the situation daily, regularly, monitoring the circumstances of New York, of our city, of our state, and also of our own school community's health, and making decisions at that time about whether or not we can continue to be open in person. We will be prioritizing in-person learning, as I said, as long as it is safe, and a key piece of this is the low New York City transmission rates and guidance from the medical experts. Another aspect of the protocols is a multi-layered approach to risk mitigation. We're not relying on 1, 2, or even 3 aspects, but rather we've taken an approach to apply multiple layers to reduce the risk of transmission. And lastly, a key feature is your partnership. There are some policies that you may hear about that will feel antithetical to what you would normally see at Mazel. We're a community school. We're known for our warmth. We're known for our welcoming environment. That will stay the same, but some of our policies will not be as accommodating as they may have been in the past. But they are necessary. This is necessary. It's not optional. And we need your partnership as parents. It's important to remember that these policies are not only for your individual child. These are policies there to protect the entire community, a community made up of teachers who are adults, a community made up of parents, grandparents. How many elderly are part of our dear community? How often do we see grandparents picking children up or dropping them off? They're an important part of our community. We are in this together. So let's begin. These are the different layers. As I said, it's a multi-layered approach. First layer is keeping the virus out, and I'll unpack each of these shortly. The second is increasing ventilation, sanitization, and hygiene. Third, managing safe interactions. When the children will be in the building, ensuring that the interactions that they will have, which they're kids, where they're in school in order to interact with one another, will be as safe as possible. Fourthly, keeping groups in cohorts, and I'll explain what that means shortly, in order to avoid a widespread exposure throughout the entire school. And lastly, focusing a lot and investing on training of the children, of the staff, and of our whole community. Lastly, we also know that we must be prepared for remote learning in case it does come up. So let's unpack each of these. We'll start with keeping the virus out. First and most important, and this aspect is probably the most important aspect of our reopening plan. The first part of this is a zero tolerance sick policy. It's very simple. Stay home if you're feeling sick. Keep your child home if they are feeling sick. It's that simple. Please do not give your child Tylenol and send them to school. I know as a mom, sometimes your child wakes up in the morning and they're feeling not so great. And you might say, you know what? Maybe go to school. You'll see how you feel. And if necessary, you'll call home and I'll come and pick you up. This is not the year for that. Not now. This year, we are setting a much stricter threshold for illness and therefore a zero tolerance sick policy. We will also be restricting visitors from our buildings. Visitors meaning tours coming through, outside vendors, as well as parents. There will be, unless there is an emergency, there will be a daily screening. So in short, what this means, and you will be receiving additional information about this beginning of next week with information for how to sign up. Every parent, every staff member will receive information to sign up for a special app. You will download this app on your smartphone. You can also access it on a web browser. And every single morning, before you leave the house, you will take your child's temperature to make sure they do not have a fever. And you will answer on the app simple COVID symptom questions, screening questions. And you will also be asked about any possible recent exposure to COVID. Based on your responses, you may be told, you're good to go. You can go to school and get ready to go. In addition to that, when you will get to school, and we will see those results, they will come straight into us. In addition to that, we will also be doing on-site temperature screening of the children as they enter the school building, and the same will apply to all staff. So if you don't have a great thermometer at home, go get one. So this will be, you'll get more information about how to sign up for it. It is very important that parents complete the app daily. We cannot do it for you. If your child comes to school without the app completed, they'll have to wait. There'll be a waiting area for them until we get through to you so that you can do it for them. So please do it. We will be asking, of course, for all disclosure of COVID-19 exposure at home. And we will also notify you if there is a positive test in your child's cohorts. We will not necessarily, to clarify, we will not share every time a child goes home, because there will be children going home if they're not feeling well. It's not necessarily a cause for alarm. Children are children, they're normal childhood illnesses. They're going to be going home to be screened, and I'll explain how that will work shortly. But we will let you know, of course, if there is any positive test results in your child's cohort, so you'll know how to proceed. Isolation. If a child during the school day begins to feel COVID symptoms, we have a designated room where they will wait away from other children, from other staff, until someone is able to pick them up as soon as possible. The amazing news that I'm so excited to share with you, thank God, is that this school year, for our West End location, K-8, where we have a large population of students, we will be welcoming a school nurse to our faculty, to our staff this year, and she will be able to care for children during the school day who may be displaying symptoms, and make sure that everyone is all right. For children who need to be home sick, there will be a remote instruction option for K-8. I would like to clarify something very important about this. Firstly, if your child is actually sick, they should rest. Remote school is not for them. However, if your child is feeling well enough to participate in school and engage in school, however, because of the stricter policies this year, they are not yet able to return to school, you will be able to participate in remote instruction after 24-hour notice. So you will let the school know, And after 24 hours, within that period, they'll provide you all the information that you need to know to log in so that you can participate in remote instruction. In addition, for the time being, field trips will be suspended. Now, I want to explain a little bit more information about the COVID sick policy, specifically about COVID symptoms, because I know this is a question that many parents have had. We'll begin first with a scenario where a child or a staff member has symptoms during a school day. So let's say a child experienced COVID symptoms, they're brought to the nurse's room, they're waiting, they go home. You will have to take your child to see a physician. If there is a confirmed alternative diagnosis, means your physician says this is not COVID, it's something else, then if the fever was one of the symptoms, once the fever, there is no longer any fever without using fever-reducing medications, and they have felt well for 24 hours, you've received clearance, you'll actually need to submit a doctor's note, which has been our policy in the past. Your child can return to school. Or if they were diagnosed with another condition, the doctor says this is not COVID, it's something else, and there was no fever, and again, you've received a doctor's note, you've received clearance, you can return to school. Second type of scenario, someone experiences COVID symptoms. They're seen by their physician, and they do receive a COVID diagnosis. In such a case, the person must self-quarantine, and they may only return to school when all of the following 4 conditions were met. It has been at least 10 days, so 10 days quarantine since the symptoms first appeared. It was 72 hours since the person had a fever without medication. They were symptom-free for 72 hours. And again, they've received clearance from a doctor. Only after all 4 conditions were met can they come to school. Now we know they're healthy and it's safe to return. If you find yourself in a situation where there's a household member, a parent, a sibling, any other member of your household that receives a COVID-19 positive test or is waiting for a test result, all household members must quarantine and cannot attend school. Now, I would like to clarify, what does it mean of a close contact? I'm going to explain what this is. An individual who was in close contact with someone who tested positive, okay, must self-quarantine for 14 days, and this is the CDC and Department of Health guidelines, before returning to school, unless for some reason, depending on the individual circumstance, you're advised by the Department of Health that you can return. This is what a close contact includes. Anyone who has been within 6 feet of a person who was diagnosed with COVID for at least 10 minutes. So here are some examples of what a close contact would be. An immediate family member of someone who's infected. So for example, if a parent receives a COVID diagnosis, their children would be in quarantine and would not be attending school for 14 days. Students and teachers who are in a cohort with an infected person are considered a close contact if such a scenario would happen. The class, the cohort, which we'll explain what that means depending on the grade level, would go into remote learning after a 24-hour period. And any individual who rides to or from school, whether you're carpooling or you're on the bus with an infected person, also falls into the category of a close contact and would have to quarantine for 14 days. Again, all of this may change based on guidance that we receive from the Department of Health. Okay, but this is the baseline. Something important to clarify, I know this is a question many parents are wondering about. Children with a runny nose, children with a common cold, seasonal allergies, or chronic cough, which are symptoms that can be perhaps present as COVID-like symptoms, they should be evaluated by a healthcare provider. If they receive clearance, if your physician says this is just a common cold, or this child typically has a runny nose, it's not COVID, they may return to school. Moving on to our second layer. Okay, our second layer is ventilation, sanitization, and hygiene. We will be increasing the level of sanitization of high contact areas and common areas like bathrooms, the doorknobs, anything that is high touch. Throughout the school day, there will be additional maintenance staff in both facilities. There will be at the end of each school day, a daily disinfection of the classrooms. All cleaning and sanitizing products and procedures will follow CDC guidelines. We will also be increasing the ventilation of indoor spaces, be keeping windows open, and we also will ensure that every classroom will have, this is something that we have purchased, a Medify ear, medical grade ear purifier for every single classroom. A lot of research was done in choosing just the right ear purifier that will not only purify allergens or bacteria, but particularly has the right measurements for COVID. We have already installed additional hand washing stations wherever needed, additional sinks, and we will be increasing, of course, the frequency of hand washing throughout the day. It will be embedded into the children's schedules. Okay, layer number 3, managing safe interactions. So here are some of the things that we're doing to enable children to interact with each other safely, as safe as possible. Firstly, we are keeping our class sizes even smaller than usual, reducing the class sizes depending on the grade level, anywhere between 10 to 15 children at a time. We will also be applying distancing in a variety of different ways. In our preschool, the expectation is that the children there is no expectation for young children in preschool to be distancing. We understand they're small. So there is no such expectation, and that is not the guidance from the Department of Health. However, during nap time, during meals, children will be at distance as much as possible. In our K-8 classrooms, the classroom spaces have been redesigned so that the students are able to sit at a distance from each other. Our classrooms will look different than they normally do. In addition, in some of our classrooms and some of the settings, wherever needed, wherever there isn't that 6 feet distance, we will be using physical barriers. So what this means is that, for example, in our lunchroom, there will be small groups of students in grades 1 to 4 that will be learning in some of the spaces. The lunchroom space, we've built custom, our incredibly talented maintenance team has built by hand barriers to divide the spaces into learning areas where small groups of children can learn. Some of the desks in the K-8 classrooms will have not plexiglass. A new fun fact that I've learned is that plexiglass is flammable and not up to fire code, something that I never knew before. I hope I never need to know it, but it will be made out of polycarbonate. There'll be little barriers to ensure that if there's a side where the children, there's less than 6 feet, that barrier will be there only where needed. Also, we've installed them in some classes so that the children can actually move their desks closer together for collaborative learning, which is a key feature that we've invested a lot in our school. So for those, there are some desks that have it on the side. The children can move the desks together and they can still collaborate, and then they'll move their desks back to a more distant position. Meal service will be within the classrooms. This is another way to manage safe interactions rather than the lunchroom. Food will be served in individual portions. Typically in our preschool, we serve meals family style. This year, all of the meals will be plated individually. In kindergarten through 8th grade, the food will be served in pre-packaged portions. Another great thing that we will be starting is, we know that there are picky children, and usually in our lunch we try to offer different options. So what we will be doing, and you'll get more information about this as well, is allowing parents to pre-order lunch in advance. Through your family portal on fax, you'll be able to see 2, sometimes 3 options that you'll be able to choose from, and to basically select which of the free lunch options you would like to have for your child. And that way your child will know in advance and will be able to prepare those for the children. So they'll have, be able to make that choice. And again, as you are aware, the lunch is free and part of the school, what the school offers. For children in middle school, just as we've done in the past, children in grades 5 to 8, they will have an option a few times a week to order out, take out, and that will also be on your lunch order option to choose for middle school students. In addition, all the specials will be taking place in the classroom. So lower and middle school parents, yes, there will be specials. There will even be gym. The only special that will not take place in the classroom will be gym. The gym is huge. Do you know the guidelines for taking gym? The children need to be 12 feet apart from each other. We can fit the children comfortably there. And we have an amazing gym teacher. Coach Igor was doing gym on, I can see the children cheering in the background, was doing gym remotely. He is brainstorming, researching, coming up with ways of how to do physical education in the gym, even while distance. Obviously, there won't be contact sports, but they're going to get exercise and they're gonna have fun. Students in the elementary school will be keeping individual supplies rather than communal supplies, and will be organizing the classrooms in a different way so that each child can keep their supplies with them. We will not be having water fountains available. Instead, we've replaced our water fountains with new bottle fillers. The children will be bringing their bottles to school and be able to fill them up throughout the school day. The hallways, outdoor play zones will be marked so the children know to follow procedures. The same is for using the bathrooms. There will be protocol and structure for it all to ensure that there are safe interactions. Another important aspect of this, and I know this is something that will be challenging for parents. I know this is not going to be convenient. There will be mornings that this may be frustrating. We will be sharing with you the drop-off and dismissal times, which will be staggered. This is a very important part of starting our day safely in person. So in order to be able to accommodate the entry screening, in order to be able to ensure that cohorts of grades are entering the school building safely at a time, in order to reduce crowding, and in order to ensure that drop-off is done in a distance manner, we have to stagger it. There's no other option. What we will be doing is that in all divisions, drop-off and dismissal will take place within a 15 to 20 minutes time frame, approximately. Kindergarten will still be at 9. In order to ensure, sorry, hold on. If I can ask everybody to please mute themselves. Thank you. In order to make it a little easier for you if you have multiple siblings within a division. With regard to dismissal, it's a little bit easier for us to be more accommodating. So what we will be doing, you'll notice when you'll see the time schedule, is that children will be able to be dismissed by siblings. So you will be able to have one time that you come and you can pick up all of your children, but we're not able to do that in the morning. Okay. Another important aspect of managing safe interactions is masking. In the preschool, children can, if your child is comfortable, obviously not the 2-year-olds, but nursery and pre-K children, you can choose if you'd like to send your child in a mask. The staff will be masked. With the elementary school grades, K and 1, and grades 2 to 8, we have designed a thoughtful mask policy for each grade. We will be sharing the details of that mask policy with you by email. Please review it. I want you to know that we have a positive feeling. We're feeling good about helping the children wear masks. It's going to be okay. We know how children are. It's going to be done in a developmentally appropriate way. We have really thought through carefully how to ensure that children will have mask breaks. When are the times that they will be required to be wearing the masks? I wanted to ask that you please review the recommendations. This was put together by our medical advisory team of the type of mask to choose, and to also choose a hygienic storage that you will send along with your child with regard to wearing a mask. All right, keeping cohorts. Okay, so this is the fourth layer of our safety plan, which is essentially in order to prevent, God forbid, a situation where if there is a case, it does not become school-wide, right? It remains isolated. In order to do that, and this is a strategy that's been employed globally in other countries, and it's been found to be very effective, we need to maintain classes or grades of students as a cohort. In preschool, a class is a cohort. In K-8, a grade is a cohort. The schedules will allow for distant transitions between cohorts. At this time, because early drop-off and aftercare typically involves children from different grades, we are evaluating whether or not we will be able to offer it, and we will be notifying you if anything changes. Only 1 to 2 classes at a time would be playing in a common area, and programming that involves multiple grades or activities that involves children from different grades will be replaced with alternatives. Lastly, we're going to be doing a lot of training with our children, with our staff. They'll be trained in effective mask wearing and proper hygiene and hand washing. And a key part of this is having an orientation process where we can train the children in the safety procedures, also recognizing that children have not been in school for 6 months. Think of the blessing that we will be able to say on the first day of school. You have each received the orientation schedule. Please take the time to read it through carefully, because everything is outlined there. We received a lot of questions about the orientation schedule. Please find the email with it and read it through carefully. And if you're having trouble after reading it, please reach out to the office and they will guide you through it. The sign up for orientation will be coming once the class placements are released next week. The last piece is being prepared for remote learning. We know that remote learning may be necessary for individual students. If an individual child must go in quarantine because a household member has COVID or was exposed, it may be necessary for grades at a time if there is a case within the cohort, or for the entire school. This would happen if there is a citywide outbreak and we are mandated to close, or if we determine that across the health of our community, there's a major spike of cases. We will be, and we have already upgraded the remote learning model based on our experience of the spring. Our goal is to secure devices for all students in K-8. For those of you in K-8, you've received a notification about this. We have discovered that Chromebooks are the new toilet paper, very difficult to receive. There's a major shortage in them. So we are reevaluating and coming up with new plans of how we will be able to ensure that. So please respond to the text survey that you received in your email today. We also will be implementing a system where all students in K-8 will be able to submit and receive assignments throughout the school year. This will enable seamless learning, whether students are in person or if they are learning remote. Thank you all for listening through that. I hope it was clear. Feel free to post messages to Mrs. Avigayil Raskin. She'll be looking out for them. And now I'm going to turn the mic over to Dr. Boris Khodorkovsky. He is the Associate Chair of the Emergency Department at, hold on, I'm just going to unmute him, at Staten Island Hospital. Welcome, Doctor. He is also a longtime member of our Board of Trustees and a past board chairman.
Hi, everybody. Chani, thank you so much. I think your comments were very well presented, and I think we have a great parent body, and I'm sure we'll do what we need to do to make this year successful. Few comments first, and then I'll take the questions. Again, there will be a lot of emails coming your way, and obviously pay attention to all the information, but I would like to start off thanking the school leaders and teachers and principals, and everybody who works at school to really make this happen. It's a lot of work went into this. So I really big thank you, big yasher koach to everybody. On the behalf of the medical committee that is represented by various members who have both worked in inpatient hospital setting as well as the office settings. We like to sort of share our message that I think in the end, we're all responsible for each other, right? Kol Israel Arabim Zelazeh, right? All the Jews, we're all responsible for each other. So I think we need to approach this responsibly. We all need to be on the same page, whether you're a teacher, a parent, a grandparent, or a student, obviously grade appropriate. We are going, like Chani was saying before, we are going conservative at first. Again, the reason why is because we can always scale down, but we would like to go according to what's available right now, the best evidence, as well as the recommendations by various healthcare professionals and various organizations. And just in general, we want to make sure that in the first 2 weeks, we don't want to fail. Okay, we can always get it, we can always scale down. My plea to everybody, let's get it right. Let's get it right away. There will be some hiccups. Yes, there will be some, maybe the app is not going to be working that day or whatever the situation may be. We'll deal with it. And I think it's, I'm a parent as well. So we'll deal with it. We'll make sure that things work smoothly. I'm really hopeful that this year is going to be great. The kids are looking forward to coming back. Everybody, I think we all know our kids are just tired sitting in front of the computers at home. They really want to meet their classmates. I think teachers also need to be engaged and they want to see the students. So I think the atmosphere is there. I think we have a great spirit. We have a great ruach, and I think we'll make it successful. So let's be responsible to each other, and we'll make it work. Any questions, Chani, that you have for me?
Yes, thank you so much for those words. Okay, so one question that we've been getting is with regard to testing. One question that came in is with regard to testing students and staff before school begins for COVID. If you can talk a little bit about that.
So
do you believe it's a good idea? Do you believe it's necessary?
There's different types of tests. Oh. So from what we've been discussed before, and I think currently we will not be recommending for students to get the testing prior to coming to school. Why? On average, it takes the various tests. They take various times to get in to get resulted. While you're waiting for the test, you can be exposed, and then in and of itself, just one isolated test. Let's say if I do a test today, I had to do a test for work 2 weeks ago. That test is meaningless now. It only was meaningful 2 weeks ago when I first got it. So it doesn't protect us in any way. So that's the test for being actively infected. Now, in terms of the test for the previous immunity, again, we will not be requiring it because it really does not matter as of right now. We could still, even if there's still a lot of unknowns. There's no recommendations to do absolute testing prior to arrival to school. I don't believe this is going to be a useful piece of information to begin the school. Again, we will be doing everything possible: masking, social distancing, disinfection. We'll try to take all the precautions to avoid any possibility as much as we can. Again, don't forget, we've never done this before, at least not in my lifetime. I mean, in the past, people have done it, but we've never done this before where we go to work in mask. We're on the subways in mask. We go to the stores in mask. This is, unfortunately, for now, until we get better news, this is the reality. And we'll have to deal with it for now. But as of right now, the tests will not be needed to come to school.
Thank you. Speaking about masking, can you talk a little bit more about masking? Because I know this is something that many parents have had questions about. Some parents have expressed concern about whether or not wearing a mask is safe for young children with developing lungs. If you can address your thinking, if you can address this question and share some of your thinking and your research and the research of the advisory team.
So currently that's the recommendation. And there's no data to support that there's any danger to lungs, developing lungs, any lungs. Actually, there was an interesting experiment done by one of the physicians who's I believe a runner, and she ran 25 miles in the mask and she did fine, no issues. Again, the whole idea of rebreathing your CO2, it doesn't pan out. This is not how the body works. All the theories understood, but that's not, it didn't pan out in the research. Currently, the kids will be okay. It's actually interesting. Again, it depends on us as parents and teachers to really show by example that this is not something to be afraid of. There is no long-lasting effects to the lungs as far as we know. The kids will be fine. Now, there are certain, listen, there's certain circumstances for various kids. We'll work with various families, but I think majority, all of us, I think kids will be fine wearing a mask. There will be no issues. Again, let's hit it right from the get-go, and we can always scale down. Maybe if the new information comes in, if the rate is really low, if there's a herd immunity that is, consistent with ability to scale down, we will reduce the wearing masks to certain times. But for now, I think we need to be on the conservative side. We afraid. And other countries already from the get, and I think we'll be fine. Let's do this right from the get-go, and then we can always scale down.
Thank you. I think there was an interesting stat you shared with me the other day about the size of the oxygen molecule versus a COVID molecule.
Well, no, the oxygen is just, it'll get through the mask. I promise you, the oxygen itself, nobody's going to be what we call hypoxic. I work in a mask, and I do about 4 miles. I usually work during my shift in a mask, and I can check my oxygen anytime, and it's normal. It's fine. The oxygen will get to again, I think the idea of the mask is, I just want to make sure we understand it's more importantly, when you're wearing a mask, it's really protect others from what you might have. That's the most important thing, right? If you cough, at least the layer will protect your stuff from getting to somebody else or outside. So that's the reason why it's responsibility on us. It's not enough to say, well, you know what, somebody else is wearing a mask and I'm okay. It's you have to protect, because you have to protect others from getting it as well. And I think that's even more important.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If there are additional medical related questions that come through, you can drop them in the chat. You can either please address them to Mrs. Raskin, who's a co-host, and then we'll come back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. And
sorry, we lost you there for a moment.
I'm looking forward to, I think everybody's looking forward to the new beginnings, new year. And it's been tough 6 months. I think we all know it.
Thank you very much for your help, guidance, and support. Okay, and now, as in the theme of what Dr. Khodorkovsky mentioned, one of the things that we will be asking every family to submit with their children at the beginning of the school year is a commitment to communal safe practices. We are part of a trust relationship. We are part of a community. As the Torah teaches us, Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh B'Zeh, we are all responsible for each other. We are going to ask that each family member take the time to make a commitment being part of our school community. Now, what this means is, for example, you will commit to reporting if there is COVID case in your household and family. You will commit to ensuring that if your child is sick, you're not going to be sending them to school. You will support and encourage the policies of the school at home. We ask you to please present them to your child in a positive way. It will be okay. Everything is going to be fine. And we are all in this together. So we ask you to support our policies, to encourage your children to approach them with a positive approach, because we are in this together. And we are in a trust relationship. And now I would like to invite each of our division heads to share a few words about, again, they're speaking on behalf of us as a team. So we're actually going to be doing this in reverse order. First, you're going to hear from our middle school principal, Mrs. Raskin, then from our lower school principal, Mora Sonya, and then from our preschool director, Mora Ina. So Mrs. Raskin?
Good evening, everybody. I just want to reiterate before we start about talking about what will not change. I want to reiterate some of the points that Mara Okonov has said about how excited we are at the opportunities that are ahead of us, and to be part of such an amazing community of families and students and teachers who are approaching this with all the love that we know is mazel. So I'm going to ask each of you to take a minute and think about, when you think of mazel, what are some of the words that come to your minds? So I'll give you a few seconds. Think of what are the things that are mazel to you. So some of you might have thought, I'll tell you some of the words that came to my mind when we did this together. A sense of community, a sense of creativity, love of learning, love of exploration, love of a fellow Jew, a focus on academic excellence, a holistic view of a child, looking at a child socially, emotionally, spiritually, academically, and knowing that it's all bound together to be one successful person. Love of Judaism, a joy in the Jewish year, the Jewish calendar, a joy of programming, the excitement and the events that make us mazel, a progressive model of education. So in the beginning of the summer, when we were starting on this journey of creating a new mazel, it was a little bit scary. We were afraid, are we going to lose what makes mazel mazel? Are we going to lose our soul? But as we've moved on and we've been working with our staff throughout the summer, and especially this week when we've started our in-service and we've had all of our staff working every single day this week, we're seeing in the rooms come to life. We're actually seeing a bright and exciting way that mazel, what makes mazel mazel, is not leaving, it's just adapting. So although the desk setup might not reflect the ability to collaborate that has become what mazel is known for, to have student-led, student-centered learning, to have I can promise you, and I see it in our teachers, that our teachers are ready and determined to bring to life everything that is mazel, using new programs, using new learning styles, different types of partner work, different types of group work, different types of programming, but being able to differentiate to the needs of everyone. Here's what you can expect to see in what makes mazel mazel. You're going to see students setting learning goals and working towards them. You're going to see teachers working to an even greater level of collaboration and and subject integration than you've ever seen. You're going to see varying modes of learning, utilizing many different styles. You're going to see an emphasis on critical thinking and creativity. You're going to see active learning and joy throughout our day. You're going to see students at home and at school interacting with each other. You're going to see programming. You're going to see events. You're going to see fairs. You're going to see parties. You're going to see social emotional learning to an even higher standard than what we've been known till now. We may be physical distance, but we are never going to be socially distant. We are more united than ever. We are working together. We are growing together. And what makes mazel mazel will always be part of us. That's our promise. And that will be for the preschool, for the lower school, and for the middle school. So if we're just going to look at a little bit about what makes a progressive education model, this doesn't have to change. It's a part of life. It's relevant. It's real. We're going to see that application. Our learners are active. They're problem solvers. They're not just sitting there listening to that teacher talk. I know when we think about students 6 feet apart, we think of a picture from the 1800s of kids sitting with their arms like this. That doesn't have to be like that. We're going to still have teachers, facilitators, guides, setting up stations, setting up workshops, setting up projects, project-based learning. We're going to see parents, we're partnering with you. Yes, you can't come into our classroom, but believe me, you're still part of our class. You might not be able to come in to read a book. You can read a book over Zoom to our students. You might not be able to come in to see our science fair. You'll be able to join our science fair in other ways. Our community is an extension of the classroom. Our Rosh Hashanah communities, our Hanukkah communities, they're going to be different, but they'll be there. We have goals for all our students of what is going to be a successful Mazel Day School graduate. That's not changing. So we're integrating, we're growing, we're sharing our knowledge, and we are recognizing in greater ways than we ever had before all the different ways that intelligence can be shown, can be measured, and can grow. So we're really excited to see all the ways that Mazel is going to continue to be Mazel in a better and stronger way than ever. So with that, I'm going to now call on Mora Sonya, our lower school principal, who will continue with our academic updates.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. It wouldn't be a Zoom session without somebody who couldn't unmute themselves, would it? First and foremost, what I really want to say, I've been wanting to say this since I saw all of you on the screen to begin with, is how amazing it is to see everybody's faces and to see so many kids in the background. We miss you so much. And we are so looking forward to being back in the school building and feeling that energy that is Mazel, and hearing the children laughing, and hearing the conversations, and feeling that energy that really will transcend that social distancing, the physical distancing, and the mask wearing. And our school spirit, our community will prevail no matter the circumstances. So before I get into the academic updates, I wanted to address something that I'm sure is on everybody's mind. In this school year, more than ever, social emotional well-being is paramount. We've really invested a great deal of time in the decision-making processes of what will make the school year a safe one, a productive one for the children, and with a continued focus on the quality of learning. And what we realize is that the transition back to school will be a process. And we understand that having healthy friendships accessible will enhance the success of this transition. With that being said, we have made a deliberate decision to allow the driving force of how we have created our groups this year to be friendships. Your children will have some friends in their classes, many friends. And while most classes are not staying completely static, positive social relationships have been taken into consideration as a top priority as we've created these class groups. So your children will have their friends in classes with them. We will not be separating those good relationships. I wanted to take some time now to go back to the academic updates that I'm here to tell you about. Our educational team, the leaders, have spent the entire summer, and more than the summer. We probably started back on March 16th when virtual learning began. We'll never forget that day when we had everybody on staff together, distanced, trying to figure out how we were going to do this. But we've spent the entire summer training for this year and investing in the training of our teachers so that they could bring that incredible energy and strength to the classrooms in an even more impactful way than they normally do, maintaining and enhancing the rigor and finding the creative and engaging ways for students to continue to collaborate, even when they can't be in close proximity to another. We will be using those dividers, as Chani mentioned. We are preparing for both in-person learning and for remote learning if needed. We spent a lot of time talking about that, looking at resources, looking at the latest innovations, the tech tools that will make it smooth. And I also wanted to take a moment, and this is, I can't say this enough, none of us can say this enough, to take a moment on behalf of the entire administration to express our deep, infinite gratitude for the hard work of our teachers that they've put into prepping for the year. They have really given it their all. They have taken risks. They will be there for your children, and they will give 1,000%. Our teachers are excited, and they are versatile and committed. They miss your children. They miss their students. They have that great can-do spirit. As always, and something that we take great pride in, is how much our students learn each year. Obviously, our students gain the knowledge and important skills, simple skills, such as, basic math. Well, they're not simple for everybody, but basic math facts, addition, subtraction, multiplication, increasing their math fluency as well as their reading fluency and scientific method. That will continue. In addition to these things, our students will learn and continue to learn how to be critical thinkers, how to ask the right questions and be mindful about their answers. Our students will continue to work on being the great collaborators that they are, and they will continue not to shy away from engaging their creativity and sharing their voice. This will continue to happen, and the rigor of the learning will remain strong. Students will continue to work on group projects through the integration of tech tools and hands-on opportunities. Students will continue to participate in novel groups and interactive discussions. They will continue to have opportunity for experiential learning, where they will learn by doing. They will have opportunities to solve problems, whether it is in the form of a math competition, a science experiment, and for science, they will be getting individualized science kits this year. As Chani mentioned, there will not be communal supplies. We have also transitioned to using consumable textbooks. We will showcase this learning through a variety of tech tools, and teachers have been trained to use these tools in their classrooms. Overall, we feel it, we know it. This will be an incredible year. Academics will stay strong. Our students will continue to learn. They will continue to be excited. You will continue to be involved. You will not be coming into the building to do read alouds live, but you will do it via Zoom if necessary. We are so excited for this year, and we thank you for being a part of this journey with us. And without further ado, I want to pass the mic over to Morina, our incredibly talented and wonderful preschool director.
Thank you, Mora Sonya. Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to see everyone and extra excited about the school opening. As Mora Hani said, there would be some big changes in elementary school and middle school and some safe changes in preschool. But many things, like Mora Avigayil and Mora Sonya said, will stay the same. And one of them is a process of transition from being home to going to school. The transition is not easy. And as preschool director, every year I meet with the group of young parents to ease their anxiety about their children starting school. After being at home for 6 months, I think even older kids probably experience some worries. In preschool, we are experts in helping not only young children, but as well their parents overcome anxiety. This year, we plan to meet with all grades to discuss the ways to help children to overcome anxiety. How do we do it? Guiding through expectations, helping with preparation, and providing information. You should know that it's normal to feel nervous. It's normal, it's not normal to dwell on it. So what should we do? We already can start preparation. The next week is the right time to start getting children on the proper bedtime routine. During the bedtime routine, talk to your child about what he feels about the going to school. If your child is excited, your job is easy. Just say, honey, be cautious, wear a mask, wash hands, and remember to sneeze in the elbow. But still watch if there are any changes in your child's behavior. Usually, children regress when they feel anxiety. They may not tell you, but their behavior might. Help your child identify the worries and fears, label them, and provide child-friendly, fact-based information to address the worries. Reassure child that Mora Hani, Mora Sonya, Mora Avigayil, Mora Ina, and all Moras in the school, all our team, will make sure and determine to keep everyone safe to go to school. Keep your family rituals the same. Do not start new rituals before the school starts. Do not change your child's sleeping routine. And practice at home. Practice washing hands, practice using tissues, and be honest and accurate. Stay up to date on the facts, check reliable websites, listen to reliable physicians. Do not start a home conversation with the words, I heard. Start with the words, I read, I checked, and research the information together with your older children. And stay connected. Please stay connected to us, to school. Let us know if your child shows any kind of anxiety. We will create a coping plan together in collaboration with school consultants. It's important to talk to your kids, ask them what makes them nervous. Getting straight answers can help us to get right support. I'm wishing everyone incredible, healthy, and a safe year. Back to you, Mora Hani.
Thank you. And thank you, Morina, Mora Sonya, and Mrs. Raskin for sharing reflections and thoughts as we return to school. It's important for us to remember that everything that Morina described and shared is for all children. Our children this year are experiencing something definitely, as was mentioned before, unprecedented in our lifetime. To go 6 months without being in a school setting. So for all children, they may be feeling different emotions. This is also an important feature of the orientation schedule. So as I mentioned before, please check the schedule. You will notice, for example, that in the preschool and elementary school, preschool and lower school, one of the features is that there will be a Zoom meeting where you will be able to meet your children's teachers before school. This is for preschool to grade 4, where your child will be able to see the teacher without wearing a mask. And this will help prepare, and then in follow-up, all the steps afterwards are to help them basically make this transition when they come to school in person. So please check that, and you'll get the sign-up information next week. So I want to end off with 2 things. Firstly, by speaking about communications, please reach out. We know that there was a period of time in the summer where you were waiting for information. There was so much unknown. There was a lot of anxiety building up. Thank God we got the governor's notice. Thank God New York City rates are low. We've been able to implement and roll out our plan, really put in action. We're able to come to you today with a very carefully thought out plan and procedures with more information. We also know that perhaps some information was confusing or you may have questions about. It's okay. The main email from where you will be getting major updates, the COVID updates, come from this email address, connections@mazeldayschool.com. We have heard that for some families, this seems to go to spam. Some families haven't been getting it. We apologize for that. So feel free to share with each other, okay? And things will always be repeated. Look out for emails from the office. When you get an email, there's important information in there. Please read it. In addition, for right now, for the coming week and a half, your division principal is your first point of contact. If you don't yet have their email address, you will be receiving a staff directory shortly so that you will be able to contact them. Once the school year begins, please reach out to your classroom teacher. They are there to help you through this reacclimation process. All questions with regard to operations, please contact Rabbi Naftoli as well as Rabbi Avremel. And the same goes for any financial questions. You will contact the office with regard to that. We are here for you. We will do our best to answer any questions that did not get answered tonight. There are a few quick ones that I want to address before we conclude this evening. A big question that's been coming up is about busing. I would say 2 days ago, my answer would have been different than it is today, in true COVID style. Up until today, the communications that we were getting from the Office of Pupil Transportations, which our buses are not our own, they are provided by the Department of Education. Up until today, the communications were, we don't know what we're gonna do. Students with IEPs that mandate busing will be prioritized, but we'll be happy to provide Metro cards for everyone who needs it. As of today, we were in, Miss Ina was in touch, from our office was in touch with the Office of Pupil Transportation, and they've communicated a little bit of a more hopeful message. We don't have the full details. It was hopeful, but not fully committal. It certainly should not be expected for the beginning of the school, but hopefully at some point in September, they will be able to organize something. They even mentioned that it might not be, for example, on Fridays, they're not sure, but all of this information will be provided to you as soon as we get it. But that is actually very good news, because a few days ago, my thoughts about busing was much less hopeful. So now we have a hopeful sign, which will hopefully blossom into something more concrete. Another question that was coming up was with regard to mask breaks. Yes, the children of all ages will get mask breaks. They will. You can be assured of that. Before we address any other questions, I want to conclude with a very important message. As I started, let's circle back to the beginning. We are in this journey together. While we don't know where it will lead us exactly, we know who we'll be with. We are a community together. One of the things that has always made me feel like leading Mazel is an honor and a privilege is the fact that our school is a school that our community has built together. This was true from the very first days of our school when we first opened. It's true for the way that we survived and actually flourished following Sandy, and it is still true today, because this is a school that our community continues to build. As I mentioned before, all of the work that goes into and will go into reopening our school to be able to offer 5 days a week of in-person learning requires money. That's the reality of our world. And the number at the bottom is right now estimated at $500,000. I have to say that in the last few weeks, we've seen a beautiful display of support from you as parents. Just to give you some examples of different ways that parents have stepped up and contributed towards helping us make this happen. Some families have actually written out checks when my husband, Rabbi Okonov, would call, tell me how much is this costing? Okay, here's how much I can contribute. Here's a check. Thank you to each and every single one of you who have been able to do that and who have done it. You know who you are. Some of you have done it in towards specific reopening logistics. Some of you have graciously done this specifically towards a financial aid fund to help families who are in a difficult financial position right now, to help them cover some of the tuition costs. Really a beautiful display of Avat Yisrael, of love for our fellow. Some families have participated and contributed through in-kind services. We've had a parent come in with his team to install sinks and do the plumbing work in our school. This is just one example, okay? So in-kind services, and we've also had families step up to offer hours of consultation, getting in touch with top virologists, looking into the right apps, researching which is the best ear purifier, spending hours on the phone, figuring out how to get this done on behalf of not only their child, but of all of our children and the staff. This is what I mean. Together, we are a community, and it's such a beautiful moment for us to see how, as a community, so many of you have already stepped up, and I encourage each and every single one of you to participate. Everyone has different means. Everyone has different resources. And together we can make it happen. This coming week, you will be receiving an email inviting you to participate in contributing towards reopening the school. You will see a list of different options that you will have. Please, please take the time, look it through, see how you can help, because that's the way that Mazel has been built, and that's the way we are going to do this together. When we think about our vision for how we will approach this reopening, often if you've been at our curriculum nights or our orientations, you'll hear us talk about the 4 C's plus 1. Well, here we have some more 4 C's plus 1 for us. We will approach the back to school year with a sense of calm, confidence, compassionate. It's okay if not everything goes exactly right away. We'll get it right. Connected, and with a sense of community. We are all in this together. So thank you everyone for joining. We can take a few minutes to address some more of the questions that have come in. Mrs. Raskin, were there any in particular that you wanted to highlight?
Yes, so there was one question that their child is in kindergarten and they wanted to know if they will be getting time to spend outdoors. Mara Okonov, do you want to answer that? Or should I?
More Sonya, I think.
Sonya wanted to.
Yeah, actually, I had it in my notes to talk about recess, and thank you for asking that question. We will have outdoor time every single day. There will be recess every single day, whether it means we're going for a walk or we're going to be in the yard. Yes, there is recess.
And that's all the way through 8th grade.
Yeah. And like Chani mentioned earlier, there's a limitation of how many children we can have outside at a time in the yard. So we will stick to those guidelines. But yes to recess. Come on, gotta have recess.
Another question, this might be for the medical, might be for the school. Is there any plans to switch outdoor footwear to reduce germs coming inside?
I think this question might be specifically for preschool.
It did mention preschool, yes. Little muzzle. Marina?
Yes, hi. Yes, we included in our policy, and this year children will be changing footwear from outside to indoors.
A quick practical question. Is there any recommendation on which masks are best to buy for children?
Yes, so I can actually answer this on behalf of the Medical Advisory Committee, which this information you'll also find in the Student Uniform Code and on the ReOpening website, which is a great place where you can find all information collected in one place. We'll be updating on that website all the policies that we introduced today, because on the policies side, it was last it was updated was in July, but we'll be updating it again with the new information. So the type of mask that is recommended is, firstly, if it's a cloth mask, it should be double layered. A surgical mask is also acceptable and can be recommended. They do make child size surgical masks. The most important part of the mask, the strongest recommendation, is that it should fit properly. Please excuse the example, but it should fit like proper underwear. Okay, so flush against the face and be comfortable. It should be something that your child feels comfortable wearing to school when necessary. The masks should not have a valve. So some masks have a valve on them. It actually is not healthy for all those around you, which defeats one of the main purposes of wearing a mask. It's important that the mask covers the child's nose and mouth well and does not fall off easily. And we also ask that you please send in something that the child can use to store their mask during mask breaks, during lunch. So for example, you can send in a short lanyard, you can send in a brown paper bag as long as you change it from day to day, or let's say Ziploc bag, again, changing it from day to day. Or you can even send in a little pouch or a fanny pack. I've seen some people use, again, that if you're using something like that, you would have to make sure that it's, you wash it out and sanitize it each day.
This is a question for the older classes, so I'll answer it, is will there still be differentiated subjects like leveled math or things like that? So the answer to that is yes. In the lower class, like 3rd and 4th grade will work differently, in the middle school work differently. We are keeping students as much as they can in their groups, but as we said, within a grade level is a cohort, so we will be able to do that to a certain extent. Okay. Another question that we have over here, will there be someone escorting children in the younger classes to their classrooms? Sonya.
Kindergarten children will be escorted by either an associate teacher, an assistant, or even the classroom teacher, but we are arranging for that to happen. Yes.
Okay, there's a couple more questions about masks. I'm just going to reiterate that disposable masks are considered very acceptable. But if it's for children, make sure you buy the children's size ones so that they fit. It's hard to say specific brands of cloth masks because it's a matter of taste like anything else. It's a kind of trial and error. Maybe on your class WhatsApp groups, when you have children of the same age, parents will be able to give more specific recommendations over there. One more, and in terms of when will be the mask breaks, all of that will be coming in the parent handbook. All the details to that will be explained over there. One more question that we have over here, which is a big one, one second. Do you think it's an idea to have a Zoom class with the kids before orientation to give them instructions before they start so they're more familiar with protocols and they don't have to waste so much time in school? So that's the very reason why we are having our orientation week. By giving them time to practice it and to get used to the rules and to understand it and to see it with their friends. When you're in person and you see it with your friends, it loses the fear of sitting at home on the computer and hearing about these things. So we know that it's not ideal to have the first few days instead of first one day of orientation. But for your child, as we said, number one for us this year is social and emotional comfort and social and emotional well-being. And if we're able to give them that time to see their friends, to recognize that it's doable, to see that it's not a scary thing, to see the care and their love that their teachers have, that's the way we're going to do it. And we're sure that when your child comes home so happy on that first day of school, you'll appreciate that too. And I think there's just one other question about giving teachers a break to be able to have a drink so that they don't get overtired from talking and singing.
Thank you. So this is what I love about Mazel, is when, you know, how much we all care for each other and the love and support that our parents and families feel towards their teachers. Yes, they will get breaks, and we're committed. Our teachers are a priority in taking very good care of them during this time. And we encourage you to do the same, because we really are a team. We are in this together. And as I said in the beginning, this is a year that will not be perfect. It's not the year for perfect, but it's the year for extraordinary, for us to really demonstrate what makes our school amazing. And first and foremost, it's our faculty, our incredible team of teachers, and our amazing children with their parents' involvement and support. Together, we are a community. I'm going to conclude for tonight. If there were any additional questions that were not answered, we will follow up with you directly. I'm sorry that we ran out of time. Please remember to send an email if you have any questions to your division principal. For now, they are your first points of contact. They'll make sure you get all the information you need. There will also be information sessions with your classroom teachers on Zoom, which is something that we typically do not do. Typically, we have curriculum nights, you know, later in the year. This will not be curriculum night, but it will be an information session where you'll be able to, the teachers will be able to present to you the structure for how things will be structured. How will it work if there are smaller groups of classes? What the expectations for homework are? How will the remote digital submission of assignments work? All of that, they'll provide that information for you during that first week of orientation. So please check your email, look out for the information for back to school, and also look out for that email inviting you to participate, to contribute, and to partner with us in this amazing miracle, a miraculous experience that we are going to do together. It almost feels like how the Jews felt by the Exodus, right? We are going to do something together that will be amazing, and we are really excited. Thank you. I'm going to stop sharing so we can see everyone's faces. So wonderful to see all of you. And we can't wait to see you on Zoom and in person with each of you over the coming weeks. So please reach out and have a wonderful evening.